On this week's show, we're discussing Capcom casually announcing Resident Evil 9, PlayStation's return to the Tokyo Game Show, and is an Elden Ring movie in the works? All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone. Welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all the week's video game stories and news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. Your players this week are none other than myself and Mr. Chris. How bad do you feel right now?
So hungover. I'm alive, that's one thing. But yes, we went out for drinks to watch the football.
Yes, we did.
And we went out with our football friends as well. So you kind of have like a double football focus going on. And my word, I've not been that drunk in a long, long time. I broke my phone. I can't remember getting home. And in and amongst other things. But you know what? We're through on penalties somehow. And I sat down last week's show and said we might be out, we might be in. Here we are a week later. Still in it. My word, I am suffering for it. I think that we still would have got as drunk regardless of if we'd gone through or not.
Yeah, it was a night out. Even we probably would have went even if England weren't playing.
Probably. But yes, I am suffering today. So any audio or video listeners, apologies in advance. I'm so glad you're hosting this week as well. Like my brain is just like semi-holding it together.
Well, we were talking before the show. You were out quite a lot longer than me because like we started drinking about 2:30, 3 o'clock, and about 9:30, like yous moved on to a different bar. I came out like out the loo, like yous were gone, and I had that sobering moment when I go, you know what, you're drunk enough already, and I was quite drunk at this point as well. It's like, you know, when you're just like wobbly and like. Just get in the taxi, go home. You don't go find them. Just send them a text saying, "Right, lads, I'm off."
Mm-hmm.
So
I stayed out,
and you were out till one.
Half one. Yes. So that's what you can expect, folks, on the 30th of September when we celebrate our 5th anniversary. Late night shenanigans and lots of drinks and sambuca. I feel like I bought 3 rounds of shots of sambuca.
Oh, I forgot about the shots.
Yeah. I do that.
You do that. You have a habit of doing that. You get to a point where you're already drunk and you go, oh, shots is a good idea.
Great idea, bad idea. We'll let you decide. Yeah. But yes, I'm here, tangentially here for a great show.
Yeah.
And I'm here to talk about games.
Talking about a great show, we do have a great show lined up for you. It's not all drunken conversation. But before we get into it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell icon so you're kept in the loop of all our fantastic content here at GamerGuildTV. Such as the GamerGuild Podcast every single Monday and our live streams, which, Chris, you were playing without me this week. What did you do?
I was. We had kind of a gap in our schedule for things to play, and it's a weird time of the year where there's actually nothing out. There's nothing pressing. There's no launches until I think August pretty much kicks off with Star Wars Outlaws. That's my next big one on the horizon. So we're kind of just drifting between games, but there is a big title coming out in September, Space Marine 2, which has been 13 years in the making from Saber Interactive after the long overdue sequel from back in the day from THQ and Relic Entertainment, of all people, as well. And I thought, you know what, I have it on PlayStation 3. We like doing a couple of bits of nostalgia look back. So yeah, I dived into Space Marine, or Warhammer 40k Space Marine, on PlayStation 3. Played about an hour and a half of it, of the opening mission. That game is so good. It's such like, I'm so happy it's getting a sequel in like modern setting, but even by today's standards, it obviously visually isn't the best, but some of the cutscenes and just the opening mission in the first hour or so, it's such a video game. It's hilarious. It drops you in. You are one of the Ultramarines. You are sent to a planet that's just about to fall to the Orcs, and you basically go in as one of a group of 3, Captain Titus, voiced by none other Mark Strong. of movie fame. It's just like rocking Space Marine 13, 14 years ago.
Was this before he is like climbed to fame?
Must have been, yeah, must have been. And yeah, you go in and you basically just tear shit up. You kill some orcs, you destroy, but it's very much of that era, like Gears of War, third person shooter, where you get tons of cool weapons. You get a sword with it that is a chainsaw sword, which is super cool, like Gears, to tear people up. It's very much just machine gun, pistol, grenade launcher, like tons of weapons, kill some orcs, and it's just fun. It holds up really, really well. I'm hoping that they make some tweaks for the sequel, because it hasn't aged like amazingly well. There's like the basics are there, but there's a lot of like modern sensibilities which are missing. It's not as much cover mechanics as I thought it was. Like, and, you know, with Gears, there's a lot of like hide behind walls and duck under things. This is very much just like you're free to do that, but there's no like lock-in mechanics to it. So you're very much just run and gun. But yeah, weapons. I think after about an hour, I already had 4 weapons. So it's very much introduces you to everything really, really quick. But yeah, satisfying deaths for the orcs. Really good visually, music's amazing, and yeah, for a game that's 13 years old, it's I'm shocked I haven't gone back to it sooner. But if you're into that kind of thing, Space Marine 2, obviously in September. It's a shame they really didn't do a remaster leading up to it. I know they had like a 10-year anniversary a couple of years back, came out on PC, but this game I think would really benefit from like a remaster, and then heading into the sequel later this year. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the sequel, and yeah, it's an interesting one, because I think you and me both, we played Warhammer, painted Warhammer back in the day.
A bit, yeah.
And I was always more the fantasy side of things. Like, I never really dived too much into the 40k Space Marine stuff, but I think in a world where Henry Cavill's now at the helm of the movie TV universe for this, and he's such an ultra nerd, I think we could be on the horizon of like a new Warhammer like era that we're heading into, and I think Space Marine and Henry Cavill stuff is going to really kick that off for us nerds out there.
A next era of Warhammer, like re-emerging.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
it's just so expensive. that's why I stopped doing the figurines. Like a little pot of paint that was like £5 odd back then.
Imagine how much it would be now. It would be about 30 quid or something. But the figurines themselves were expensive, so that was actually such an expensive game to actually get enough troops to build an army so you could even bloody play.
Can you remember the setup we had in my parents' garage?
Yeah.
Where we had a big chunk of wood that my dad gave us, and we basically made like a battlefield of, I think, random bits of slate that we found on the driveway, spray painted, glued on, covered the whole thing in sand to make like a desert environment. I think I remember taking a couple of figurines and turning them into statues by painting them like silver and black, and just made them look like figurines on the battlefield. We had a couple of ruins, but yeah, we never really knew how to play. It was more just like...
Well, you had to buy like the rule book, and then you had to buy the codex for your particular race or whatever. So you end up spending about 30 quid on books just to play, and there were not
the
skinny
trees.
Books. Yeah.
Remember the trees and shrubs?
Yeah.
They'd be there like vacuum sealed in a little plastic packet, and it'd be like $7.99 for literally just fake trees. So bad, but so expensive. And I think video games are the best medium to probably enjoy Warhammer through at the moment.
Let us know in the comments below if you do actually play Warhammer. It'd be interesting to head over to our Discord and feel free to share the pictures of your army.
Absolutely.
Have you been playing anything else, Chris?
Yes, I have actually. So aside from our stream, I'm doing a proper dip into old school. So you know, last week I got the platinum for Jak and Daxter, Precursor Legacy. I've kind of continued that trend, and I'm now playing Sly Cooper, Thievius Raccoonus.
Oh, okay.
So I've now gone from Naughty Dog's PS2 entry over to Insomniac's PS2 entry. So this is their mascot flagship platformer of that era. And it's a little bit different to Ratchet and Clank. It's a little bit more linear. You are Sly Raccoon. You've got a turtle friend, and you've got a... Is he an elephant? Oh, no, he can't be. He must be an elephant. He's a hippopotamus, I think. They're your crime-fighting crew, and you basically go on missions to rescue the lore of how to steal things from your family's tradition. And it's all the pages from that lore book of how to best steal things like a sneaky raccoon have been spread out across various villains, and you go to basically different biomes and take them out. So I've dealt with a frog enemy in a pirate world. I'm currently heading to, for all intents and purposes, Las Vegas to take on a big tiger, I think it is. And yeah, it's quite fun. It's just collect all the coins in the level, find some little bottles with mysteries in, and a little bit different in terms of the mechanics. So it's actually surprisingly got a lot of like Assassin's Creed to it, so there's quite a lot of sneaky. Avoid like spotlights from finding you. Climb up on the rafters of things. Shimmy along pipes and up and along like telegraph poles and stuff like that. But it is very much just a 2D platformer. But I'm kind of on this little adventure of exploring platformers from yesteryear, and I'm enjoying it. And the platinum doesn't look too unobtainable either. I think it's probably 8 to 10 hours. So it's one of them. I've done Jak and Daxter, I've done this, and I'm a huge fan of like obviously Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. And it's just I missed these games originally, just because I didn't have the money or the means to get them. And yeah, I'm on a proper little nostalgia trip. Me and the wife are actually going to start Simpsons Hit and Run.
Oh, nice.
On PlayStation 2 this week, because I got it delivered as part of my kind of like collection building. I did have it back in the day. And it got delivered, and as soon as she saw it, she was like, "Oh my god, can we play that later on?" I was like, "Yes, we fucking can."
Yes, we can.
Like, of course we can. I was like, "You're actually interested in a video game without me having to prompt you ask if you fancy playing something." So yeah, we'll probably boot that up and go check out Simpsons Hit and Run, which also deserves a remake.
Yeah,
or like a reboot or something like Grand Theft Auto, Simpsons, Match Made in Heaven. Remember that era when we got like Simpsons games, Futurama games, and everything else, and now we just get SpongeBob games.
Yep, lots and lots of SpongeBob games.
How about yourself?
It's quite interesting you say you're down a nostalgia trip. I am also down a nostalgia trip. I've just finished Uncharted 1.
Ooh.
And now I'm working on the platinum. In fact, literally I was like 2 minutes late for this recording because I was finishing up one of the speedrun trophies. I only have crushing to do. Technically, I need to complete the game on hard as well, but that'll pop at the same time as crushing, and then it's platinum time.
Crushing is going to be
I did get platinum for Sick of Truth actually before the podcast. Nice. Before the podcast even went out, I got that on like the Sunday afternoon.
Nice, yeah. I love a bit of Uncharted. My plan is to go back and play them all on the channel, just gradually. It's one of those kind of like long... We've got Gears, we've got Halo, we've got Uncharted, and you've got Zelda.
Yeah, my plan is actually to continue on to Uncharted 3 once I got the Platinum on 1. I already have the Platinum on 2, but I am just going to replay it for fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm playing any game, but replay it's just, okay... Instead of going from 1 to 3, I'm going to do 2 in the middle, but I'm just going to play through and then go on to 3.
You'd be doing yourself a disservice if you just skip 2. For the sake of it. Like enjoy it. Like, these games are, like, I think I always go back to them, and so does the wife, actually, because they are, like, movies, for all intents and purposes. Yeah. The character, the story, and it's like... Going back to it is just as enjoyable. So I think without the trophy necessity out of it, I think it's still fully enjoyable. I think 2's probably my favourite ultimately. If I had to settle on them as well,
I think it's my favourite as well. That's the what. There's only 2 Uncharted games they have the platinum in. 2 and Lost Legacy. But actually, my girlfriend, after seeing me play, just downloaded this and started again herself. Yeah, so I think she's probably just literally crushing and a few collectibles away from the platinum herself. But like you can play through the entire story in like 4 hours. Well, like she literally did it in an afternoon, like full story.
Damn,
it is really quite short.
Like, cutscenes aside.
Yeah, when you think of some of the some of the more complex levels, when you're kind of like the miney area, like it's just like a maze. There's a speedrun trophy to do that in 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And it is achievable. Like, it's difficult, but it's achievable. So, like, some entire chapters might be only like 10 minutes long if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I remember doing the speedrun stuff, and it is pretty much just blitz through certain parts, especially if you kill the enemies in a certain way that they don't trigger, like, the next wave, so you can kind of, like, cut time there. But, is she playing as Donut Drake?
No. No one wants to do that.
No one wants to play as Donut
That's
Drake.
in the bonus trophies, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't really care too much about the bonus trophies, just the main game ones. But it's an awesome game.
It is. I had like a thought the other day, because we know Blue Point are working on something, and I was like, are Blue Point going to be doing Uncharted? And then I went through this phase of thinking maybe Blue Point are working on The Order 1886. I listened to another podcast where someone recently played it, and they were like raving over it, everything except for the length and the replayability, kind of like we did when we went through our playthrough. And it was like, oh man, I wonder if Blue Point are just like sneaky working on something behind the scenes, and we get a sequel for that. Because again, with video games, I think they all may show up again. It's always an opportunity that someone, because you don't need the same team on it, you just need the IP and the license to pretty much go at it. And I was like, come on, Sony, do something.
That's the thing with Uncharted. Is it a case of Sony Sony might have to take it off Naughty Dog to do anything with it, and Naughty Dog might just be like, no, it's ours. We want it. You never know with one of them things. Like they might just be like quite protective over it because I know like Crash Bandicoot really put like Naughty Dog on the map. But I think it's actually Uncharted that really took them to the next level, away from just being a platform studio into like the cinematic style gameplay thing.
Yeah, absolutely elevate them. I'm always curious to think of like how much say the studios actually have, because ultimately they are owned by PlayStation.
They are.
And like their IP, and I know Sony give them a lot of autonomy to run independently, and that's where we get a lot of amazing games from. But like the Uncharted games are some of the biggest sellers for PlayStation. I think if Naughty Dog are clearly sticking with The Last of Us, like at what point does leadership go, guys, if you can't get us another Uncharted out in the next decade, like we need to offload it to somebody else? And they have done it in the past, remember? Like Golden Abyss was done by Sony Bend, who are no longer working on a Days Gone 2, so they're free, and they've got a history with the franchise. But then Blue Point did the Uncharted collection you're talking about that you've played. They did the remaster of that, so they're also familiar with it, and it's just like... But then again, we say this time and time again about a lot of them. Like, I was looking the other day on eBay at the Killzone collection, and it's like Killzone, Infamous, Resistance. Like, there's huge franchises sat dormant, literally having done nothing for years now. Like, the last Uncharted game was like 2016. Like, we're coming up on a decade nearly since we had an Uncharted game.
Since Lost Legacy.
Yeah.
That was 2016.
2016, yeah. 2015 was 4, and 2016 was Lost Legacy, which was originally DLC. But exactly, it's 2024, Richie. 2 years. It's 8 years, which is...
Yeah.
But then game cycles take so long, it's just like...
Yeah,
I'd be there day one for any of these.
I'd quite happily do something more like Lost Legacy, because I think Nathan's story is done.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll have to... I think you're better off doing like these vignette stuff, like he's Lost Legacy, focusing on different characters. Like a solely standalone game could be cool.
Yeah. And again, with video games, the great thing is you can go back in time.
Yeah.
Because you can just de-age, you can make them older, you can change the setting. Like, it really doesn't matter with games because they're essentially timeless.
Imagine, like, playing as like Sully, but set like when he's younger, in like the 70s or 80s or something.
Mm-hmm. So and we know you meet Nate at a young age, so in an interesting twist of fortunes, you could actually have a Sully game, and Nate's your sidekick, but he's actually, like, teenage Nate.
Yeah. And
you're showing him the ropes, and... I would play that if it was just a couple of hours long, but who knows? There's just so much potential to sat on.
Who knows indeed, but you know what I know, Chris? It's time for you to introduce us to the graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, a.k.a. what lack of news there is this week. Lack of news.
news!
And the lack of news is brought to you by Guild Heroes, which you can join for as little as 99p. Links are in the descriptions below. First news story, Chris. Capcom have basically announced Resident Evil 9, but in a very kind of casual way.
Yeah, they had the next event, didn't they, this week, which we reported on last week's show, knowing fine well that there wasn't really going to be much off the back of it. It's so odd that they do these events, like, in and around Summer Game Fest, but never just quite kind of, like, jam it in there. Nintendo went a week later, Capcom are going 2-3 weeks later, and it's just baffling that you wouldn't want to just be a part of the normal stuff. But yeah, we had the Capcom Next event, they showed more of Monster Hunter Wilds, and a couple of other bits and pieces, but then... ultimately, randomly halfway through it, Koshi Nakanishi, who's the director, randomly just goes, "Oh, we're making a new Resident Evil." Just mid sentence of talking about other things. It's like, oh wow, okay, nice to get that off your chest.
Making it Resident Evil, and to quote, "It was really difficult to figure out what to do after Resident Evil 7, but I found it, and to be honest, it feels substantial. Completely ignoring Village then."
He was the director of 7, that's why. So he didn't work on Village. So I think this has been his game cycle.
Yeah, I wonder if they are working for Resident Evil in these kind of cycles, whereas, like, you know, you did 7, then you're going to do 9, and you'll probably do 11, and the guys who did Village will probably do 10.
Yeah, which is... But then again, in between the remakes, it's such an interest... We knew this was always going to happen when they started cranking out the remakes, but, like, they're almost, like, coming to a point where they've caught up with themselves almost, because are they going to do Resident Evil 5? Probably. Then will they push on to 6? We know there's rumours about Resident Evil 0 and Code Veronica, and it's almost like the remake team is stalling for time while the new game team is doing something. But we know with Village, Ethan Winter's kind of story arc was pretty much wrapped up and done. So now they are at this weird passing point where do they go third person? Do they stick with the first person horror, which Koshi's obviously repopularized Resident Evil with the horror of 7 Biohazard? Is it really just doubled down on the horror element and got, I would say, revolutionized Resident Evil and got people back into it? And then double sandwiched with the remakes. I think like Capcom have had such a win in the last eight odd years because of this trajectory. And I'd be very curious to see what they do. Personally, you know, I'm all about third person, but it's an interesting pivot point. What are your thoughts? Where do you think they go with 9?
I have no idea, to be honest. I think it will be like a new story, because he seems to be hinting that, like, well, after 7, I wasn't really sure what's next. Mm-hmm. Basically saying, the story's. I take that as the story's done of them characters. So you'd have to like make new characters or revisit old fan favourites, maybe new locations, which is probably a good thing, to be honest.
Yeah, well, Village brought back
Chris Redfield. Yeah,
was he a Village? And what was that big scientific word? Was it mutamycete or something?
Yeah,
I can't remember. That was the focus of 7 and 8. But then it's like, do they tie them all back in? Do they go like all out with a new story?
I think it'd be
the kind of the world is their own, right? They can do what they want to.
It'd be interesting to
people
go
are happy enough.
all the way back to the roots and go back to T-Virus and Raccoon City. Like, but in terms of gameplay, I think they've been experimenting in 7 and Village with combinations of you can play in first person by default. Later on, we've added DLC, which is now you can now play third person. They've experimented with VR in them games as well. I think you could see that carrying over to 9. So, like, maybe from the ground up for 9, you can play in either first or third person.
Yeah, I could see that, especially even if like just one of the versions is like an update later on. I think Raccoon City could be a good shout. I think looking at reading the tea leaves as such, we know they've not announced a remake of number 1. So part of me is kind of thinking like, well, maybe they don't want to do anything with 1 in Raccoon City, because the new entry might be going back there, and they don't want to maybe like oversaturate people on seeing Raccoon City. But I think a more open world Raccoon City, where you're not linear and locked to side streets and pushed towards certain out objectives, but actually here is the whole of Raccoon City. I think that would be quite new for the franchise. It would keep it fresh, but also keep it true to its roots by having us in Raccoon City and the T-Virus being the focus.
Yeah,
I think there could be an interesting dynamic with Resident Evil, because, you know, they're going to want to evolve it and tweak it somehow, as you do with every iteration of a game. And let's face it, Capcom titles have genuinely gone a little bit bigger in recent years. Like, look at Monster Hunter especially.
Yeah, they seem to be on an upward trajectory as a publisher at the moment.
So, and Village got bigger, and Biohazard, and yeah, I think maybe taking it back to its roots is almost like a reboot culmination of the remakes and the new series. I think going back to Raccoon City would kind of unify them all quite smartly. So yeah, I mean, I'll be there for it. So
they could even do like a prequel thing that kind of bridges the gap from like 4. I don't really know the stories of 5 and 6, but maybe bridges the gap from 4 into 7.
Yeah, well, we saw with Village, the kind of the mutamycete was tied in with the Umbrella. I was going to say Umbrella Academy, Umbrella Corporation, and everything there. So I think, yeah, maybe like tying those up a little bit closer and giving us like a real reason why they're all linked. And we know Rose is still out there, as well. We got DLC with her, so she's obviously a character, whether they double down and commit to her being the main protagonist, or they just do something different. But yeah, it's exciting times, and I think that having the director of 7, which revolutionised the franchise and brought it back, I think it's kind of a good roadmap to be on with him at the helm.
Yeah, I mean, 5 and 6 did sell well, but it kind of lost its kind of luster. The kind of critical and fan reception of the games were very much down compared to like previous entries, especially at the heights of 4. So it'd be interesting to see what they do. Going with the remakes, I actually think I still want a Resident Evil 1 remake.
Yeah,
I know
same.
they've technically already done it, but it was for the GameCube, and a remake to modern hardware.
In the RE engine.
In the RE, yeah. I think it's really calling out for it. Maybe with Code Veronica and Zero as well in there somehow. And then it's like, where does 9 fit in amongst that? It'd be interesting to be like, you're playing in Raccoon City. Even maybe you're playing as a character working for Umbrella at the time of the T-Virus outbreak, and the entire game is set in the facility.
Yeah, flip it.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting, but it's just so ironic the way they announced it, of just like, yeah, we're making it.
Yeah, we're making it. Yeah, we're just
like, all right, yeah. Don't want to give us any more details? No, we're making it.
I suppose it's just one of them. It's kind of, yeah, we're not actually showing anything, but you guys, you already know we're making it. We're making it. Like, it's just one of them. It's just that, like, official confirmation of something we've already knew.
Yeah, I wish they'd casually come out and announce Dino Crisis. Yeah. I saw they tweeted out Capcom this last week. It was the anniversary of Dino Crisis. I think it must be 20 years, maybe 20th anniversary since it released in Japan. And they just put a picture of it's like a raptor's claw essentially, which used to be the cover art for the first game. And everyone was just immediately thought it was promoting like a remake or something, because it was in Japanese, so you couldn't really see what the title was to go along with the picture. And when you translate, it just says 20-year anniversary of Dino Crisis. It's like, no, we thought it was an announcement. Like, that has to be on the cards. It has to be on the cards for a remake. But yeah, I mean, Capcom are on a huge winning run at the moment, so they can seemingly do no wrong. So
yeah,
and long may it continue.
I'm talking about showcases. PlayStation is returning after a 4-year absence to the Tokyo Game Showcase. Now, we've got 2 games confirmed that are going to be there. Astrobot and Lego Horizon Adventures. No surprise.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Do you think this is a big deal for them returning?
I mean, the games media seem to try and make it a big deal because they've been absent since 2019, so it's been a good 5 years since they were there. And PlayStation have skipped out on so many events of late. We know they don't really...
Pre-pandemic, they're kind of like with the death of E3.
I mean, they left E3 before it fully died. Like, they saw it and jumped ship early, but then they seemingly don't bother with the rest of them. I think Tokyo Game Show, with it being on their home turf, they maybe have a bit more onus to kind of show up and represent your own country, I guess, in a way. Yeah. So if you're going to go to one, that's, I guess, one of them. We don't know if they're going to be at Gamescom much. I know Microsoft have announced Xbox are going to be there in droves to show off their games and stuff, but I feel like Microsoft have thought they almost show up to everything for commercial value in terms of fan base. To say, like, look, we're gamers like you. We'll be at every event. Like, you love Summer Game Fest, we'll be there. You love the Game Awards, we'll be there. You love almost like to try and claw back some goodwill for their lack of sales in games. And I think PlayStation haven't had to do that. So I think if you're going to spend your budget on maybe 1, maybe 2 showcases a year, you might as well go to Tokyo. It's local for all intents and purposes. It's probably the least effort you need to put in. And if they are just showing off a couple of things like Astrobot and Lego Horizons, maybe we see some Death Stranding too. And yeah, I think it's the easiest win for them without really having to lift any weight.
Yeah, I'm just curious what else they could be showcasing, because I mean, it could have some Final Fantasy stuff in there as well. They've had that in the past. They've had Call of Duty.
Could be the Pro.
Yeah, they've had Call of Duty in the past, but although that's very unlikely nowadays.
Yeah, I think
it might be
maybe
hardware as well. Yeah,
for VR, because they basically ditched VR, haven't they, for all intents and purposes. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one. Tokyo Game Show. I don't really think that it gets that much focus. I think we get a couple of announcements, but they are usually along the lines of Japanese RPGs, if anything.
Yeah. It's a Japanese focused showcase. Because it's set in Tokyo, so. Makes sense.
It's interesting to see them officially showing up for it, but I think my eyes will be on Gamescom personally for anything huge, and we know the Game Awards isn't until January, so I think if they want to get an announcement of the Pro out, could be a good spot for it.
Yeah.
If not, it'll probably just be a blog post summary.
That might be it. It might just literally be a case of, you know what, we've got a couple of games and we've got some hardware to show off, so do you think Astrobot and Lego Horizons are the games to showcase a PS5 Pro model? Sure, you want something... I mean, Astrobot looks amazing, but sure, you want something that is less stylized.
You'd say that, but then Astrobot was a pack-in launch game for the original PS5, so if they were confident to launch their whole thing on it, then...
It was. Yeah, you're right. I'm just thinking maybe you want something a bit more cinematic in the way it's presented, just to showcase the power of the Pro model.
Yeah, they've got nothing coming out this year, have they, though? Metal Gear Solid, maybe, with Konami being Japanese as well.
Yeah, Death Stranding 2 could be the thing.
Yeah, Kojima, I guess if you're going to show off Death Stranding, Metal Gear is probably not going to be there.
Yeah.
But they've got enough in the tank if they wanted to showcase it, but I think, yeah, it's nice to see them showing up for events, to be fair.
The event, it takes place from the 26th to the 29th of September, so late September, we'll keep our eyes peeled on what they could be bringing. Moving on to Xbox now, because we have our game line up for July. So we've got Cricket 24, Flock, Journey to Savage Planet, former Stadia exclusive, Magical Delicacy, Neon White, All-Star Brawl 2, Golden Idol, Tchaya, which should have been a Stadia exclusive.
Weak month.
Yeah, I'd say so.
For me, Game Pass kind of gets a pass, ironically, because you've got so much of a wider catalogue anyway, but this list of games, there's not one standout, really.
I think Neon White got a bit of love when it first came out. But I'm with you. Nothing here is really jumping out to me as something I want to play.
No, I feel like looking at the list, it's just stuff that I've already seen come and go. I think without that big new entry, like we know last month we got Still Wakes the Deep.
We did.
It was a new one from a small studio. And then I feel like it stings more maybe because Hellblade kind of came and went so fast.
Oh yeah, I haven't even played that still.
Yeah, there's
I forgot about it.
There's been such a gap. It is the kind of the Game Pass problem where, similar to like Netflix and other subscription services, is there's not enough to hold its weight over long periods. And I think this is a dip where they're like, shit, we've got nothing coming out, nothing of note. Anyone who did play Hellblade probably finished it weeks and weeks ago because it's only a 5-6 hour game. So really, what is there? And I think the top pick for me is probably Journey to the Savage Planet, but even that's weak by other standards. Chaya was fun, but again, there's nothing that's like a big hitter, unfortunately. So, and we've got what to wait for Game Pass now. What's the next big one? It's probably going to be Indiana Jones at the back end of the year.
Yeah, probably.
Avowed, but we don't have. Again, these are the games that they didn't put a date on. They just said 2024. But here we are in the middle of summer, and seemingly nothing to play. So the struggles of subscriptions and Game Pass services. I mean, we spoke about it right at the beginning of the podcast, haven't we? Like, what are we playing? And both of us have gone back to older games. So there is seemingly a bit of a void in the lineup across all platforms this year. Even Nintendo don't have anything really out. So
yeah, Nintendo
good time to look back.
The Nintendo showcase was pretty strong though. So I think the Switch has got some good titles coming from both first and third party devs. Personally, I think I'm looking forward to Zelda. So.
Yeah,
that was September, wasn't it, Zelda? I think.
Yeah, I think end of August onwards things really start ramping up. But probably the weakest Game Pass lineup we've had for some time for me.
I mean, talking about August and Game Pass, Crash Bandicoot.
That would make a difference.
An Xbox mascot now. The Insane Trilogy is reportedly heading to Game Pass in August. Yeah. With more games to follow from Activision.
Yeah, this is we've knew about this for some time because since they acquired Activision Blizzard King, we've been always asking ourselves when are the games going to come, and we actually thought we would probably see some more Call of Duty titles before now in the lead up to Black Ops 4. Is it Black Ops 4? Well, I can't remember.
It is something like 5 or 6, isn't it? I can't
remember.
The
new Call of Duty game, whatever the new Call of Duty game is. We expect to see more, but we haven't. However, there are like older titles that would probably really benefit from just being on Game Pass, and the Spyro games and the Crash Bandicoot games are them. And I think that would be a big win. If you told me that list that we've just gone through, but the kind of in and amongst that was the Crash Bandicoot trilogy or Tony Hawk's, you'd be like, oh, sweet.
Yeah.
They would kind of just elevate that extra little bit with like something kind of like valid to it. And I think, again, if the sprinkle is in, if we get Crash in August and then maybe Tony Hawk's in September and then Spyro in October, I think you could spread them out really well to just boost that Game Pass list.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would be doing if I was Phil Spencer, trying to get like every month that there isn't a big new Xbox release, get one of these games into Game Pass, whether it is a Crash or Spyro or Tony Hawk's, an older Call of Duty, something to kind of just go, oh yeah, there's no big title this month, but you've got this, like this beloved game from yesteryear.
Yeah, I want Crash Team Racing.
Yeah, that's another one.
And
yeah,
then...
you can just throw in. So if September was quiet on the Xbox front, hypothetically, you just go, here's Crash Team Racing.
Mm-hmm. And that's when we take it to our wonderful audience and kick their ass on the tarmac.
Yeah, but Mario Kart's better.
Is it though? We'll get back to that.
Yeah, I think it's just... Was the last one... The only one we've had so far was Diablo 4, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, which ironically enough is like the newest entry from them. So it's... I don't know how licensing obviously works. We know we're getting like Doom and stuff, but I'd imagine they're all off into next year. But I think looking at the old catalogue, it's baffling to think they paid so much money and these games are just like the games have probably already hit their point. I think Crash Bandicoot, we reported on it the other week, has like sold over 15 million units.
Yeah.
So it's kind of reached saturation point where there's no one probably out there really buying them anymore. So the value proposition is like actually getting it into Game Pass would probably be a better value proposition for Microsoft than just letting them just be there a la carte.
Yeah.
But I think you're right that they want to spread them out because they don't want to just blow the whole list immediately. You want that trickle effect while you're trying to pad out Game Pass.
It's keeping people subscribed, isn't it? So like if it's like this is a quiet month, and you think if you weren't like thinking, I mean, we both got Xbox All Access, so we can't just cancel at the moment. But if we were just out on a monthly subscribing, go, oh, it's a quiet month, I'll cancel for August, and then suddenly go, oh, actually, I like Crash, I'll just keep it another month. It's that kind of mentality to keep them ticking over. I don't think putting Crash onto Game Pass is going to move the needle with new subscribers, but it does keep that value proposition up. So Game Pass has got the reputation for being the best deal in video games. In addition, like Crash, like Tony Hawk's, like an older Call of Duty, these are kind of, you know what, it keeps padding out that library. So you're getting even more great content. And again, if I was to advise someone, exclusives aside, and they just went, I don't care about console exclusives. What is the best platform to play third-party games on? It's Xbox right now.
Yeah.
Just because of Game Pass. Yeah, get yourself Game Pass, get yourself Xbox, and you'll have tons of games. You won't have the PlayStation first-party stuff or the exclusive stuff, but in terms of the overall library that you get for your subscription, this is the best you can get.
Yeah, we had one of our friends actually asking our chat group this week, didn't we? He was looking at buying Red Dead Redemption 2, but the Ultimate Edition was like £80. But if you had Game Pass, you got it for $26.99. So there's a massive drop. Not that really you'd need the Ultimate Edition now. I think for all what you get with it, you don't get any more story mode. You get online, and you get a couple of DLC packs and extras. But in terms of just playing Red Dead, the base game is probably more than enough. But that's the difference between actually you're getting that perceived extra value. So why wouldn't you just keep Game Pass for the discounts, for the new games?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we're all on the same page. I think a lot of our audiences, where I think when Stadia shut down, a lot of us jumped over and started exploring the world of Xbox and get these games on them. Just slow trickle.
Indeed. Moving on now, but actually moving back to Capcom. Capcom's new upcoming release, Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess, it's got a demo. So this is the weird one where we've never been able to quite figure out what it is. which is I kind of think like it probably is coming to Game Pass actually later this month in July 19th.
So why wasn't that on the list?
I don't know, because this was already announced. That coming to Game Pass, yeah. So the list we've just covered was the new announcements. Any thoughts on this, Chris?
I still don't really. I'll probably have to play the demo to really get a good vibe, because it's close enough to Souls-like and like Wolong Fallen Dynasty that I look at it and just go, yeah, I'd probably really enjoy this, unless it's a Souls-like to which I'm not going to touch it at all.
Yeah, I think a demo is a smart move for this game, because it's one of them games that you're just not hearing much about, really. I've never, in any other gaming podcasts and stuff I listen to, it's never really brought up as like a game that people are looking forward to. Where if it is, there could be a good game in here. Having a demo might be one of them things that get people's hands and go, oh, actually, I really this is a cool game. Maybe I'll buy it. Or, well, for me, I'm not probably going to play the demo myself, because it's only like 2 weeks' time the actual game comes out on Game Pass.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if you're going to check it out, you might as well just play the whole release, and then if you have fun with it, keep playing. But
I should point out the demo is available on the Series X and S, Xbox One, actually, Windows, Steam, PS5 and PS4. So if you were like a PS5 gamer, didn't have an Xbox, and you're interested in, there's a demo coming out, probably worth checking out.
Yeah, it's it looks good, but I am wary that it's probably going to be one that's going to come and go, unfortunately. And unless it like comes out to rave reviews.
But I think by now, a lot of the press would have got their hands on it, and you can usually tell when like the gaming press have had their hands on it, even when it's embargoed, because if it is a great game, then it starts adding it, coming up in their list of games they're looking forward to. They can't say why they're looking forward to it, but you know what I mean. It's like I hope it does well. It's a new.
Capcom haven't had any real losses, like we've said, so they've been putting out a lot of videos of like gameplay styles. So they're obviously confident enough to talk about it.
The weird
to see how it does.
Question mark for me though is PS4 and Xbox One
units. That's all it can be.
It's
been in development for that long.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's like at this point in the life cycle of the PS5 and Series X and S, to still support the previous generation of consoles just seems a bit weird, unless this was meant to come out a few years ago and they just needed more time. But
it'll never be Just Dance.
No, Just Dance is probably still coming out for the Wii.
Probably,
even though the store's shut.
Just Dance.
Did you know, Chris, that PlayStation Stars has been down for a while?
I did, and we've never really reported on it, because I think no one really cares about PlayStation Stars, but it's been down for like a month now, so I guess we should address it at some point. I mean, PlayStation didn't even address it initially. Yeah. And obviously something's gone wrong behind the scenes, but it's coming back.
It is. So PlayStation Stars is the weird mobile app addition.
Like loyalty reward.
Yeah, it's like a loyalty thing. Initially, it looked like it was just going to be these kind of NFT, you get a shelf, you put some digital trophies on your shelf that no one will ever look at. It does have an actual decent rewards thing, whereby playing certain games or completing certain missions, you can actually trade in your points for PlayStation vouchers. At the time of recording, if you go into PlayStation Stars, it will say PlayStation Stars is returning. We'll be returning soon in the phased regional rollouts. Thank you for your patience, and we look forward to welcoming you back. Why do you think it was down?
I don't know, because I don't think it was planned, because they would have told us probably ahead of time, like, just so you know, there's maintenance work going on. And then the fact it went and they didn't really acknowledge it or address it. And it was only when people started going, PlayStation, you know, there's a key component of your app and your storefront that just isn't there anymore. And they were like, "Oh, we're working on it." But then a phased rollout return's odd for something that you would just think to just turn back on.
Yeah, that's why.
I have my suspicions.
I think they might be revamping it. I think they were trying to revamp it quietly and wait for them to, like, when they're ready to announce it. Maybe they pulled the plug earlier than they intended.
Well, they did say any purchases made during the downtime will be there. Yeah. And people who've got access to it again have said, like, anything they bought in the meantime has gone up and they've got their points. Because that's the one thing I will say. If you are buying a lot of stuff digitally, you do get a decent return on your money. I think you and me have both got £5 vouchers out of it, and we buy very little digitally.
Yeah, it is worth actually going through maybe once a week and just, what I was doing, I was just sign up to all the open campaigns. I wasn't actively trying to do them, but I'll sign up to all the campaigns, and then if one pox, it just ticks over that, like, the currency, and when you get enough points, like, oh, I'll have a voucher, please. Do you think they need to add this to the console? Because you can't actually access PlayStation Stars on a PlayStation.
Yeah, it's like a half-assed attempt, isn't it? It's there on mobile, which I mean, I guess that's why you're probably going to view your rewards. But it is odd there isn't that tie-in with your actual console. So when you buy something, it could pop up with like a little star corner in the corner of the screen and just say like, "Oh, just FYI, you've just gained 1,000 points for buying this game or this DLC," and just like make people a bit more aware. Like, "Oh, what is that? What have I just earned?" And then it kind of funnels them towards checking out stars more regularly. I think that has been its problem, is that it just kind of exists, but no one really cares or checks it, even though there is good value in it.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like had a soft launch, realistically.
Yeah, I had a bit of a soft launch. I don't think anyone... I think, like, the trophy collection on it, and, like, because you have that the digital shelf, would make more sense to me if it was actually in the PlayStation ecosystem. That's when I could see, like, people being more interested in, like, you know, like Astrobot, where you have the trophy room. Imagine something like that, but for all the trophies you collect through PlayStation Stars.
Be good.
Yeah, but built into the PlayStation ecosystem rather than just a side bit of the phone app.
It was called PlayStation Home, and they killed it.
They did. They did.
On PS3.
Indeed. You know what isn't dead, though? The Xbox Series X and S in Japan. It's not selling as well as other consoles, but it has just passed 600,000 units.
Wow.
That was a very unimpressed wow.
I mean, I am unimpressed.
Yeah.
So the S has sold 315,000. The X has sold 285,000. But by comparison, the PlayStation 5 has sold 5 million plus.
Yeah.
And the Switch has sold a whopping 30 million plus. So
yeah,
the reason it's a story is because it's actually, for Microsoft and Xbox, it's doing actually really, really well. Yeah. So the Xbox One generation, over its entire lifetime, we know it was a shit show all over the world. They only sold 100,000 in Japan for the whole life cycle of the One.
That's
so the
bad.
fact that the X and the S have combined past 600, that's a 600% increase, right?
Yeah.
So that that's selling wonders, but just by comparison to the competition, I don't think Xbox can. I don't think they can do anything to win in Japan. I mean, why not lay off Tango Gameworks? That'll help.
Yeah, I mean they are trying to bringing more titles, like Japanese titles, to Xbox, which I think is probably going to start moving it. I think with the Game Pass model as well, because we got things like the Persona 3 and 4 came to Game Pass like day and date with the remakes, which I think stuff like that is a good move in the right direction.
Yeah.
But I think to actually see, it's one of them situations where them sort of moves happening during a generation, you're probably going to see the fruits of them in the next generation when people are back to the which platform do I go for decision.
Yeah.
Where at this point you probably pick which way you're going.
Yeah, but Japan has such a rich heritage in gaming and stuff, and it's no surprise that the loyalties lie with the Switch and the PS5 because they do cater more towards the Japanese audience, and they have done for decades now.
Yeah.
So yes, Microsoft put in some great legwork, and it's fantastic to see the series lineup selling infinitely more than the shit show that was the Xbox One generation.
Yeah.
But they're still trying to claw back. The Xbox 360 finished on 1.6 million.
And that was the peak they've ever achieved in Japan.
Yeah, so there's still a good million off, but it's just baffling to see like how vast the gap is between Switch and PS5 and then Xbox.
You have to remember as well that the 360 arguably won that console generation, especially with its online like capabilities and how it popularised stuff like that. So you do have that thing. So I want to see these numbers keep going up, to be honest, because I think that competition is good for PlayStation and Nintendo. Although the Switch is so far ahead, but Nintendo have a weird way of selling you the same console multiple times. Because how many people do you think have got an original Switch and they've got a Switch Lite and then they've got Switch OLED?
Two for the kids.
And now there's a new one. It's just another Switch Lite, but it's a Zelda one coming out with Zelda.
Yeah, it's always a bit skewed, isn't it? It's the kind of that's the not irritating thing, but it's kind of like factually inaccurate because like the PS5 is just the PS5. I know there's a slim model, but it still is the same hardware through and through.
Yeah, but there's no, if you have a day one PlayStation 5 like we both have, there's no real reason to buy a slim one unless you needed a second console in your house.
Yeah. Whereas all you really lose with the Switch is a worse screen and your controllers don't come off.
Yeah.
You get less for buying a newer model, if anything.
I always found the Switch Lite a weird. The fact that the controls don't come off, I found a weird thing. I can understand stripping back some of the tech in there to be basic rumble rather than the HD rumble, whatever they called it. But I would still have them detachable and the base unit compatible with your original Switch ones.
Yeah. What actually happens on a Switch game if it needs the Joy-Cons removed? And does it just pop with a message saying, just FYI, it's not compatible with this version of the Switch? Or
I have no idea.
Because that's the weird thing, isn't it? They had that with, was it Luigi's Mansion recently? Of that, like, originally it was a DS game, so you had two screens.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you change the AI or the menus to adapt to just one screen? They had it with the Wii U generation, with the Wii U pad, and then seemingly the Switch is just at least it's one screen now, so you don't have to do too much. But it's interesting. But yeah, X and S doing well. Happy to see, and long may it continue for Microsoft's sake.
Hopefully it will. It's not very often, Chris, that we actually talk about games or DLC that doesn't come out, but it is a slow news week. So Grand Theft Auto 5, it did have a single-player DLC in the works, and the developers of it said it was really, really good. But it never came out.
I mean, this is always the problem, isn't it, with Rockstar in general, is they became so big that they just don't bother. Like, some of the best DLC ever was from Grand Theft Auto. Like, if you think we got the Ballad of Gay Tony back in the day, with Liberty City Stories, Vice City Stories, like, which are games unto themselves. And then GTA Online makes so much money. Like, why would you bother? Like, I don't blame them for what they do, but as someone who loved the GTA story, who loved the Red Dead 1 and 2 story, to then never see any extra content, like Red Dead 2 especially is crying out for an Undead Nightmare spin-off or reskin. And like Undead Nightmare is arguably the best DLC of all time ever. Like, unless there's another one, let me know in the comments below, but I think Undead Nightmare for the original Red Dead was phenomenal. So to hear that, again, the characters in GTA are so well realised, to hear that they had DLC planned and it looked great, but then just to not see it through to the end is such a shame.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, Red Dead 2 not having story DLC is probably a victim of GTA Online's success. Because they did try to do Red Dead Online, didn't they? Which is still going, but it's got nowhere near the heights of GTA Online.
No. It's got a beloved community, and unfortunately they just don't really support it after the initial couple of years.
Which it's a shame, but it's like, again, with the DLC, it seems like it was quite far on, but then GTA Online exploded in the way it was, so it was literally a business decision to not release it. Imagine that you've got like a project is like 80% done, and then management go, when stop working on that, there's no point. it makes more business sense for us to not do that and focus on this instead.
But he's so it was from a developer who worked there. He now works at Ubisoft. Xbox Game Studios after going to Ubisoft. But it's that back to the side of video game development that we rarely see, which is so much stuff goes into it, and then for it to just be scrapped and never see the light of day. Like, we just had it with The Last of Us Online, whatever that would have looked like. There was essentially a whole game that was probably 90 to 95% done because it was due to launch, and then they were like, "Oh, we can't really monetize it. It'll cost more money to keep the servers running and maintain it, so let's just can it all." And it's like, oh man, like, we had essentially probably a fully realized online version of a game, just now I guess just sits in a file on a computer somewhere at head office, which is like, oh, so many millions of people could have played that and had fun, and but that's game development, isn't it?
Yeah, at this point I wouldn't be surprised if there was elements of that DLC that's been ripped out and stuck into GTA Online for different stuff. There's probably like cosmetic skins and stuff that were designed to be in there that you can now purchase. Like some of the assets they've worked on, like repurposed.
Yeah, I mean, that's the benefit of GTA Online, isn't it? It's perpetually online, like, for all intents and purposes. So I'm sure side missions and stuff and content was reused, and that's the great thing of having a sandbox game like GTA is you can pretty much do whatever you want, wherever you want. Like, let's face it, GTA has racing in it, it has golf in it, it's got tennis. Like, you can do so many other gaming things in GTA that, the sort of story play is not there, but that's always been the focus of Grand Theft Auto. Is like, realistically, yes, there's the sandbox to have fun in, but there are great stories in every single game going back to 3.
Yeah. It's interesting, like with GTA 6, GTA 6 feels like a risk they're taking, actually, because of how strong GTA Online continues to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you've ever scrolled through Facebook Gaming, it's like, it's all GTA. Like, I get bombarded with it. Like, through Facebook, when you just scroll and just go, oh, you might be interested in GTA, I don't give a fuck. Like, yeah, that's an awesome jump. Well done. But
I mean, everyone's
just
going
shows
to be
how
6.
Big it is. But then I'm curious what they do with 6, actually, with GTA Online being so strong. Like, because they know, like, they're going to have to, like, have some sort of online continue from 6.
Yeah.
Or do they just continue GTA Online? Do they just sunset it? Is there GTA Online 2? It's an interesting thing to keep an eye on, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know what's not worth keeping an eye on, Chris, though? Banjo-Kazooie. Because apparently there's no game in development.
No surprise.
I'm not
At the same
surprised.
time.
Yeah, I'm a bit sad because I think there should be one in development, but I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, we covered it the other week talking about a new Spyro entry, and presumably we all guessed that Toys for Bob are working with Microsoft to make a new Spyro game, and everyone's shouting out for Banjo to get rid of. Like, I don't have the nostalgia for Banjos. I know a lot of people do. Like, I didn't have an N64, so I remember playing it around my cousin's house.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, cool, there's a quirky bear, and he's got a bird on his back, and it's very much just Mario 64, but with different characters. Great, because that's one of the best 3D platformers of all time. But at the same time, I don't have the connection that I do to Crash and to Spyro. But I know there's a whole audience who do, and Microsoft own Rare. They now own Banjo. They need games. So it seems like it will happen. It's more of just a when and who, rather than, I think, why not.
Yeah, I think the first 2 games, Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, were arguably the best platformers on the N64. And that is a big claim considering they had Super Mario 64 on that platform.
Yeah.
And that's why I think people like are crying out for it. It's like to the extent that there was a spiritual successor in Ukulele.
Yeah, I was just going to mention Ukulele actually because they've got the remaster, Yuka Replayly,
yeah,
which comes out later on this summer. And like it is for all intents and purposes Banjo-Kazooie. Like, it's a lizard and it's a gecko and a bat, or a chameleon and a bat, sorry, doing the exact same thing in a modern realized world. So I think if you are a Banjo fan, aside from the characters, you're probably just best going to play ukulele right now because it's so identical. Like even when you get to the interactive scene, it's very much the text comes up and the back goes. Like it is Banjo-Kazooie. It's just not with the IP.
Yeah, I mean, there was the two main games on the 64. Then there was two Game Boy Advance games, and then Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, which was on the Xbox 360.
Mm-hmm.
But that had more construction mechanics and stuff in there, so it was a bit different.
Yeah.
And then nothing since 2008. And the fact that people keep bringing it up, that to me shows that, yeah, maybe they should like greenlight another Banjo-Kazooie game, because we've said before, like, how although Xbox have this thing where, yes, they were lacking some more Japanese-focused games, and they started amending that, they're also kind of lacking the platformery stuff. Now they've got Crash and Spyro, like, literally Crash coming to Game Pass. But they have... Banjo-Kazooie is a first-party type thing for them. Well, so it's Crash and Spyro now, but they've had that in their, like, in the locker for a long time, and Microsoft just haven't done anything with it. Really,
it is like playing towards different audiences, and we've praised Nintendo for it so many times. But on the other hand, we've seen PlayStation recently, like, maybe pivot back towards family with Lego Horizons, with Astrobot, and I think maybe they're starting to realize that actually there's an audience here that will be the future gamers. Like, if you get, we said time and time again, if you get the younger kids involved now, like, our nostalgia stems so much from that precious time between, like, 7-year-old and maybe 15-year-old, where you've got nothing but fond memories of, like, getting home from school, playing games well into the late hours of the night, no responsibilities, not a care in the world, and I have nothing but positive things to think back at those type of games. And if you don't cater for that audience now, where do they end up in 10, 15 years? On another platform, most likely. And I think Nintendo does such a good job at garnering the younger audience, the family-friendly audience, that there's a reason to sell so much, because parents don't think twice about, oh, my kid wants a Switch. Yeah, cool. That's Christmas sword. That's the birthday sword, because you don't have to think once, oh, are they going to be playing Grand Theft Auto? Are they going to be ripping heads out with Mortal Kombat? It's very much just Nintendo has this, like, family pass almost.
Yeah.
And yeah, you need to look into your IP and your catalogue and think, well, actually, a kid playing a Banjo-Kazooie game at 8-year-old, they'll be with us for the future of Gears, the future of Halo, the future of whatever, because we got them in when they were 8, and the parents didn't mind. They played with their brother and sister on a co-op couch thing. But we just don't really see it anymore. I think this is where the games industry has grew up with us. We've been very fortunate. We've experienced it all, pretty much.
Yeah.
But then if you're 8, 9, or 10-year-old now, like, what are you playing? Is it Lego Horizon? Is it Astrobot? And do you look back and go, oh man, Astrobot, I used to love playing that as a kid. Like, oh, so much fun. Remember this, remember that. Or do you go elsewhere? And I don't think Xbox have really an offering now, but they have the IP. They just need to utilise it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you're talking about nostalgia. I'm literally wearing a Zelda t-shirt. Like, my love for Zelda comes back to that era where you're in your like 7 to 15. That's where my love for Zelda came from, and I still look forward to every single Zelda game coming. There'll be a load of Banjo-Kazooie fans out there who have huge nostalgia for the first, like, especially the first two games on the N64. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can get them on Switch Online now. I think you can at least get one of them, I believe. I'd have to double check that, but that crying out for it. You remember when the Crash Insane trilogy was announced?
Yeah.
How hyped for that people were. Banjo could make the same sort of impact.
Yeah, and we have
not to the same level, maybe just like one level below, but there's something there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and nostalgia can fuel future generations. Like, if you look at, like, our friends, the case in point, one of our friends, Littleins, he's just over 2-year-old, and he absolutely loves Crash Bandicoot.
He does.
Like, he goes nuts for it, and he absolutely loves Astrobot as well. He doesn't play them yet. He's not old enough to play them. But my word, he'll sit and watch an entire playthrough of Crash Bandicoot levels and Astrobot levels on YouTube, just because it's colourful, fun characters with nice noises, simple to follow. And then that's a future child who's going to grow up for the next 10, 20, 30 years. If you drop a new Crash game or a new Astrobot game, they're going to be there for it. Just like I will do with my daughter when she gets older. I'll be like, right, this is what Daddy likes to do. Here we go. And me and the wife and the kid all sit there playing Simpsons Hit and Run. And she's never even seen Simpsons yet. But then that's how nostalgia works. That's how brands live beyond everyone, because they just keep ticking over. But you have to keep making new stuff at the same time. You can't rest on your laurels and hope the past keeps ticking you over, and I think Banjo especially is just kind of ripe for the picking. It seems like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
With like very little investment cost. Like, let's face it, you're not pushing photorealism, so realistically, if you got the engine there, you could get a Banjo game out probably with a quick turnaround. I think Astro was made in 3 years, they were saying the other week, with a team of less than 500. So, was it 60 people, I feel like, the Astrobot team, I think. I'm sure we reported on it, but it's like so like surprising quality for how little a team it is. So it's quite inexpensive in the grander scheme of video games.
It is a shame that things like Toys for Bob went independent, like Vicarious Visions got wound up.
Yeah.
It's a shame that Activision made these decisions. Now they're under Xbox, because then you've got these studios that could be going, you know what, these two studios, they're going to be our platformer studios.
Yeah.
So you're maybe going to work on Spyro, you're going to work on the Crash, you're going to work on Banjo, and if every other year you got like one of these titles out, cycling between these two studios, suddenly you're building up like a really good library. And if you did like every other year, you're giving each team a 4-year development cycle to get the next game out.
Absolutely. If not, just play ukulele in the meantime. Which I'm reading an article from Eurogamer talking about the announcement of the Yuka replay. Yeah. Nowhere in the article does it actually tell you the date it's coming out.
Is it even announced? Is it even like the date announced?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because it's coming out this year, isn't it? So, but it's just like, that's not really good journalism. But
all right. Moving on though to Battlefield, because we actually have 2 Battlefield stories to talk about this week. So, first one, Battlefield 2042 is getting a crossover with Dead Space. Bit of a surprise.
Random. I mean, surprised that Battlefield's still going. Surprised that they're bothering with Dead Space after they officially said they ain't doing a remake 2. So, seemingly 2 franchises that aren't going anywhere get together and team up.
Yeah, the timing of it's a bit weird. Do you think this sort of crossover would be lined up for Dead Space coming out?
Yeah, like maybe like a year and a half too late.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know what? Like we both like Battlefield, and Battlefield 2042 was fun. What we played of it, but yeah, didn't expect to see this at all.
It's a crossover event that runs from July the 9th to July the 16th. So by the time you're listening to this, it'll be tomorrow. So basically, this week. I'm not quite sure what you get in this. It looks just like playable skins, really.
Well, I mean, the trailer looks almost as though like you are going to take down like the zombie things from Dead Space.
Yeah.
Well, they're not zombie things, the necromorphs, aren't they? They're called, which could be a cool addition. It actually looks a lot like Rainbow Six. Was it Extraction? Rainbow Six Extraction. It looks pretty much like that. Like even the trailer actually says like extract, so it looks like they're adding in a game mode where you go in, you kill loads of necromorphs, and you bounce out, but in a Dead Space skin.
I wonder if they're just maybe playing with the idea of, because you know how sometimes Call of Duty has Nazi zombies. This could be their Nazi zombies by just using their Dead Space IP, connecting the two. There you go. There's your Nazi zombie stuff.
Yeah, give them a plasma cutter, go fight some necromorphs, and I'd argue and say Dead Space is in a stronger position than Battlefield right now.
Yeah,
from a franchise standpoint, but EA seemingly at a loss what to do with either of them, because they're not going to do a Dead Space 2 remake, which I think they 100% should.
Yeah, 100%.
I think they should do a Dead Space 2 remake and then a 3, but I think everyone was a bit disappointed with 3, so I think they should use the opportunity to tweak 3 and make it a better story, and then go into making a 4th, because I think having a pillar of your catalogue focusing on horror after the success, like we've seen how much success Resident Evil has, don't let it rest. And same with Battlefield, like Call of Duty does well, and Battlefield's always nipping at its heels, but now Call of Duty's in-house with Microsoft, and seemingly the interest after last shit show of Modern Warfare 3 with its half-baked campaign and story, and now just bad it was all round. I think now is the time you want to pounce and actually get a Battlefield out that really does compete. But EA seemingly a little bit lost as what to do with these.
I think EA
put them together.
They're still supporting Battlefield 2042 because people are still playing it. So I don't think you'll see a new Battlefield until the Again, I think with these, like, Battlefield is an online game. It's not an online... Well, Call of Duty is an online game that has a story mode. Battlefield, they haven't really bothered with the story mode. No. It is an online shooter. So I'd imagine EA have a number in mind. So once, like, the player base drops below that number for a period of time, that's when they go, right, it's time for the next one.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see it by 2042.
Maybe. It might be sooner than we think, because EA are actually delisting some of the old Battlefield games. Yeah. Now... The initial thought on there is like, oh god, delisting old games. But the online services are ending in November.
Yeah, and they're not on current. I saw loads of people popping off with this online, and actually, the more you read it, you realise that actually it's the older games. It's on dead platforms. They're doing it on PS3 and 360. So fear not if you've got any Battlefield games on PS4, PS5, Xbox. But there is part of me which is still thinking...
It's video game preservation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think with online games, video game preservation, I think needs to be looked different than story stuff. Story stuff, you can go, you should keep it up there as it was originally intended, because then you can go and play. But when it's an online game, they have to keep the servers on. And if no one's playing the game, at what point... It's a difficult one, because if no one's playing the games, no one's playing on the platform, can you keep supporting it just because of nostalgia? It's like it is a weird one. I don't think there is a good answer to it.
And this is where physical media is so good. Like, back to our friend I was talking about who wanted to buy Red Dead. He ended up, I think, inevitably buying it for probably $26.99 with the GamePass discount. But if he just went online and got a disc copy, you could pick Red Dead up for £17 as a PS4 copy. Put it in your console, boosh. You got Red Dead.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have a disc drive. And like a lot of things, like eventually, if he wanted to buy Red Dead 2 in 15 years, looking at these articles like this, it might not be around because they'll delist it. Which is then, obviously, Red Dead will have remakes and it'll be always supported because it's huge. But... you never know, and what's been quite interesting is going back when I prepped for the Space Marine stream last week. Guess how long it took me to get set up for it?
Ooh, I'm gonna guess like 2 hours.
Instant. Disc in.
I knew it was gonna go.
Yeah, it was one of the other. Yeah. Put it in, and it went. And I was waiting. Like I'm conditioned because of current games, like expecting it to go pop up with a notification, downloading patch, disc in, straight to the menu, done. A little message popped up saying online. It doesn't work. Online mode, no surprise, but done. Simpsons hit and run, done. And again, this is why I'm going back and just like trying to recreate my library from yesteryear, like games that I enjoyed. Maybe not great, but like I actually bought. It's on the way for delivery now. Haze. You probably don't even remember it.
No, I don't think
it was a PS3 launch window game, I think, from Ubisoft. Shooter. That just bought it £3 eBay. I was like, you know what? Me and my brother enjoyed it. I'll add it to my PS3 back catalogue.
It is always nice. Like
Star Trek. Why? Why do I buy Star Trek on PS3?
Because you played it once and you enjoyed it.
It was an Uncharted clone set in the Chris Pine Star Trek universe. Co-op. And I enjoyed it. And I was like, you know what? I had a look. It was like £6. And I thought, yeah.
Yeah, why not? Well,
why not?
There's a reason I have the Nintendo Switch Online expansion. Because I have nostalgia for a lot of the games on there from back when my N64 days, and I want to play them. I bought the bloody N64 controller for that reason. It's probably behind me somewhere.
Let's have a look at Battlefield 3.
Battlefield
live
3.
in action.
Battlefield 3. We're looking at
Battlefield 3 PS3.
Oh yeah, I should actually say it's Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and Battlefield Hardline, which were released in 2011, 2013, and 2015, respectively. Are the ones getting delisted. The delisting will be from the 31st of July, so if you want them, buy them now.
Yeah.
But their games will be completely dead in November, so
Battlefield 3, PlayStation 3, £2.90 to have it forever.
No, well, not really, physically. Because once the servers are shut down, the game's dead.
The online part will be, but they'll still be able to play the campaign.
Was there a campaign in Battlefield 3?
Yeah, like that was of an era where everything came with a campaign.
Yeah. At what point did Battlefield get rid of the campaign?
2042. It was the only one. Like, Battlefield 1 had the amazing vignette stories, and then Hardline had a story. So I think it was literally... I think that's why I was totally hyped for 2042, if you remember, because it was...
Yeah.
I was like, I haven't played a shooter in a while, I'm kind of in that vibe, and then they announced, like, it doesn't come with a campaign, and I just went, bleh, don't give a shit anymore. And it was fun when we played on stream. We had a great laugh. I had more fun playing 2042 than we did playing X-Defiant. Is it X-Defiant the other week?
Yeah.
It was X-Defiant. Can't remember what bloody shooter we played.
It was X-Defiant.
How not to play X-Defiant.
Yeah, how not. Literally, that was what we called it. The episode. But yeah, moving on, a very, very quick one that I just wanted to crowbar in here because I'm interested. East 10 Nordics has finally got a release date. And for me, unfortunately, it's October. The reason I say unfortunate is like we're currently in a quiet... If this came out now, I'd probably buy this game. Because I'm in that bit of a lull. But the fact it's October, there's just too much stuff around it. So it might be a case of I get to this eventually.
Are these all tied together? I know we had like East 8 and East... was it Monstrum Nox was 9?
9 was Monstrum Nox, yeah.
Are they tied together or are they just like Final Fantasy style? They all just stand alone?
Technically, yeah. You are playing as the same main character. Okay. And there is references to the other games. But in my experience, I started playing these games with 8. I didn't feel like not playing the other 7 was a problem. Yeah. When I played 9, there was a few moments where I would go, "Oh, that's referencing 8," but it's not. It's not a continue. It is a standalone story that is kind of the next adventure of the same character. Yeah.
So what's new with 10? Have they said anything about it? Yeah, I'm watching the trailer and it's just like it looks more yeast.
Yeah, yeast. That's basically what I think it is. It's just the next game in the series. Obviously, updated graphics for a new platform, new cast of characters. There's recurring characters throughout the series. Mm-hmm. Not many that I'm aware of, though. I think there's only like 1 or 2. But yeah.
Well, I just read
probably slight tweaks to the gameplay.
Long time protagonist Adol, and I was like, I genuinely thought my first impression thought it said Adolf, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
You don't get many kids called Adolf nowadays, do you?
No, you don't. I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why.
You've got to really hate your kid to call him Adolf.
Or just be totally unaware.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, isn't there like people out there who call like the kids like chlamydia and stuff because they're like, I thought it was a cute name. It's like you have no idea.
Yeah.
Little clammy. Little Clammy and Adolf just hanging out together, plotting.
Clammy and Adolf. That's a TV show right there.
It is. Next week on Clammy and Adolf.
And why they hate their parents. Yeah, October the 25th, East 10 Nordics comes out. Yeah, I'll get round to playing it eventually.
It'll probably go on Game Pass.
Yeah, it'll be one of them.
That's where you'll get it.
I keep hoping for some of the Trail series to come to Game Pass, which I think there is a new one that's been announced. Because I've only played like 2.
Well, wasn't that at... I feel like it was at one of the showcases, the new one, and then it wasn't on Game Pass. It was like, I felt like everything else in the showcase was, except for that. Yeah. And it was like, damn it.
Well, it's one of them where I've played through Trails of Cold Steel 1.
Yeah.
And I keep hoping number 2 will come to Game Pass or PlayStation Plus. Yeah. So I can play. Because it was, I think, 4 came... It was either 3 or 4 came to Stadia Pro. And then I just I didn't want to play it because I wanted to go back to the first one. Either way. Moving on, Chris, what do you think about a potential Elden Ring adaptation for either film or TV?
I think it's ripe for the picking for that one. It's so successful, and we saw that with the DLC selling past 5 million copies already. It just shows you that there is a hunger for this lore and this world, and I think it is so rich and deep but unfortunately the game isn't for you or me, and I'm sure a lot of people out there. But it is for millions. I think I would probably enjoy an Elden Ring series more than I would playing the game. So for me, I'm totally down for it. I think if they do it right, it gets the correct budget, it could be amazing. And I think like people referencing the Tarnished and the Elden Tree and the Shadow of the Erd Tree stuff, like it could just be a huge win. And we've seen video games make the jump to TV and movies all over the place at the moment. Like there's just everyone wants a piece of that pie, and you know what? It's got good enough writing and lore to make something really, really good. And I think because of the nature of the games where you make your own character and you just dive into the world, as a showrunner, you could just make whichever protagonist you wanted. You're not really, as long as you stick to the lore, you're not beholden to what characters are here and there and everywhere. Obviously, they'll have to have like famous bosses show up and make it look really good. But yeah, I think it's ripe for the picking. And George R. R. Martin knows how to make a good support in a good quality TV show.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually the reason this is in the show is because of George R. R. Martin. It's not just because we think... I agree with everything you said. I think Elden Ring, I think it definitely would enjoy either film or TV adaptation more than the game. But George R. R. Martin has been posting on his blog, or it's not a blog as he calls it, and I quote, and about those rumours you may have heard about a feature film or television series based on Elden Ring, I have nothing to say. Not a word. Nope, not a thing. I know nothing. You never heard a peep from me. Mum, mum, mum. What rumour?
Mum, mum, mum.
Yeah, he then talks. Like...
That sentence could have been a line from the Winter Winter.
Yeah,
that... wasting his time.
Yeah, that sentence, the fact that it exists, and if there wasn't anything happening, there might be nothing concrete done yet, but if there wasn't any conversations happening, you just go, nothing's happening.
Yeah.
There's no reason to deny it, and it's not a denial. It's like, I'm not talking about this in a kind of funny way. That's basically what he's saying. Yeah. But by saying that he is pointing attention to it, it might be something that he's trying to get done. So he's kind of used his blog post to kind of get people like us talking about it.
He's like a football agent who puts rumours of someone, this player's talking to this club, just to stoke rumours and interest and drive the prices up.
Let's get a bit of noise around this, so whoever they're talking to, probably, I imagine maybe some like Amazon or Netflix, hear the noise and go, that's an interesting idea. Then they'll look at it and go, people really like this game. Like, well, yeah, Fire and Blood still doing well. Obviously, Game of Thrones did incredibly well.
I'm enjoying House of Dragon at the moment. 3 episodes in.
That's what I meant, House of Dragon, not Fire and Blood.
Yep. Saw an erect penis this week, Richie.
Nice.
In it. Best time on TV ever.
Really?
No, I did not enjoy it. Yeah. Because they're usually flaccid, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
So
all them flaccid penises.
We'll add that into episode 5 of Clammy and Adolf.
Adolf got an erect penis. What will Clammy do about this?
Find out next week. Written by George R. R. Martin.
Yeah. I've seen a South Park episode where he just like Butters is like, when do the dragons come? He's like, and then a giant penis. He's obsessed with the penises.
Are you sure, Mr. Martin? Yes,
yeah.
More.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
it. Talking about TV shows, Netflix's Horizon Zero Dawn TV show is apparently on ice. So I wonder what's been happening there.
I think it'll go ahead. The big one is the showrunner, Steve Blackman. He's currently off the back of Umbrella Academy. I think he's in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, he's been accused of toxic behaviour by several anonymous sources who work with him on Umbrella Academy. So
I think it's not so much as the project, it's probably more just the showrunner, as they're probably going to pivot to somebody different, which has a big knock-on effect because those people come with their own teams and their own production companies and people they've worked with in the past, and it's not something you can just like swap one in, swap out. But the rumour is the TV show is going to be called Horizon 2074, which is an odd year to pick. I thought it would have taken place well into the future. If you think about how long it takes to terraform a planet.
Yeah, maybe.
2074 doesn't seem that far. I mean, Cyberpunk's just around the corner, if that's the case.
I can't remember on my Horizon lore. Maybe 2074 is the date when everything went to shit.
Oh, maybe. That's a good point, yeah.
And maybe that's the focus around the show is going to be the fall.
Yeah, that's a good point. Imagine if we got all the games and lined them up. You've got Battlefield 2042, Horizon 2074, Cyberpunk 2077. Like, I wonder how many years chronologically based on video games you could get in a line.
Oh, there've been loads. There's games isn't there something like we're actually past the point when the original Blade Runner set?
Yeah.
Isn't that something like set in like 2015 or something?
Yeah. In the future, the world of tomorrow. And you're like, yeah, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we don't have flying cars yet.
Indeed, we do not. But talking about the future, let's talk about the past in this day in video game history.
Let's predict what game will come out in 2074.
So, is there any standouts for you starting on July the 7th?
Not really. I had a look around, actually going back a day, because we're recording this quite late this week because of the aforementioned football and alcohol shenanigans. 8 years ago, Pokemon Go.
8 years ago?
8 years ago, yeah. Which I think is one of probably the biggest video games that kind of goes underrated just by like the sheer impact it had on society. Like, everyone was out. Like, people who didn't play games, but more importantly, like, people were out and about, out of the houses. Like, remember all the news articles of like churches want them removed from Pokestops because kids keep hanging out outside and stuff, and people talking to you. Like, we had friends who, like, you would talk to strangers on the street asking for like directions to where a certain Pokemon was, or could you help them in a raid. And like, we went on you weren't there for that whole, were you there on the holiday? Where we went around and like active like left the hotel to go wander and catch Pokemon.
Yeah,
we're on the I think the coach in Barcelona, where we the bus tour going around, and we were like ticking off all of the like the tourist spots in
the Pokestops to get
to get your balls and stuff. But yeah, what a time! Like, my cousin who's not a gamer was playing it, and it's like, I remember I sat at work, which was next to a Pokestop, and I was able to collect them at work, and it's like, it's such a place and a time, but everyone was over it. But yeah, Pokemon Go 8 years ago.
It's amazing. Pokemon is what there's a reason it's the biggest IP. It's been a cultural phenomenon many times over across different media. So obviously you got the anime did really well. The games have always done really well. But then Pokemon Go, a spin-off game for a mobile, just it was a cultural phenomenon. It really was. For like that, especially that first year, it made a lot into the second year of it. It was everyone was playing. Like,
it was like everyone adapted the market. Like, I remember phone shops were like putting on like the chalkboards out the front, like, come and buy a battery pack for Pokemon Go, because everyone's phones couldn't last the day because you were on them so much more. Like, people selling data plans and stuff like based on Pokemon Go. Like, you want the best signal to catch them all, I guess. But I think it translated to mobile so well, because the essence of what Pokemon Go is, it was Pokemon, right? You were going out into the wild, genuinely catching these monsters and keep them in your pocket, and it was like, it was the perfect transition. And we've seen it fail so many times since, with like Jurassic World's version, Harry Potter had a version. It's like, it's not the same.
Ghostbusters had one, but there's something about the IP and how you played the game kind of just worked. It was perfect
magic, lightning in a bottle, absolutely.
The right IP at the right time, and it just blew up, and it's insane. Like, it is still going as well. People still play.
They still do like an annual event, don't they, where you get together at a set location. They had special creatures on. I think we did it on my stag do. I remember going around in Berlin catching just a few random ones, because you could only catch them in mainland Europe, not in the UK. So it was like, well, why I'm here, I might as well just like get a couple.
You know, as big as I am into Pokemon, it's something that I never really got sucked into. When we were on holiday, I did. But we were not, because actually on holiday we were out about anyway. So it's like
that's the downside.
When I was at home, I was like, I don't really want to go out to play games when I could play games at home. It just didn't. It wasn't something I was interested in.
Well, but in terms of video games, man, like, what a phenomenon. But yeah, 8 years. My word.
That being said, if I was someone who had to commute a lot by things like train, or like, say if I lived in London using the tube every day, I would have been playing Pokemon go to death, really.
Yeah.
Just on my way to and from work and just throughout the day.
Yeah. I can just think so many times when it was like you'd get it out just to check something. Like if you went to the pub or something, or you went out for a meal, it was like, I'm just going to check if there's a Pokestop where I'm at. Just while I'm here, because I'm in a different location. I remember my home address is near a farm field, and there was no Pokestops. So I got very little at home the first years, because I think I moved into my house 2015. This came out 2016. So like I don't think my house was even on the map, like the road. So I was getting nothing because it just didn't think it was anywhere near like a public road or anything.
It's fair. Our town was kind of crap for it anyway.
Yeah, it was. That's why going to work. I think I was working in Newcastle at the time, and it was like there's so many in cities. Like if you were, like you said, London based or city based, or you travelled a lot, man, it's like such a good game. But Pokemon's so good. And back to our point about like ukulele and stuff. How many kids probably Pokemon Go was the first game, and they were out with their mum and dad going to the park, and they're all catching them together, talking and battling. And then they go into like, actually, Mum, can I have a Switch for Christmas? Because there's a new Pokemon game coming out, and I really like Pokemon Go. And like that's their entry. Like ours was the show and the cards and everything, and then the game, obviously. Yeah. But again, for these IP, like you need to be everywhere. And I mean, the movies. Look at the movies, like Ryan Reynolds, Detective Pikachu.
I've got the first 3 movies on Blu-ray because they're awesome.
Cried so much.
Yeah. Then the Retired Ash.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? We give Xbox a bit of shit earlier for not having things like Crash and stuff on Game Pass. Well, and Crash is coming, but I'm going to give Nintendo a bit of shit because Nintendo Switch Online has a massive Pokemon-shaped hole in its library.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys. Like, I think there's the complication of the interactivity of them games because you're meant to trade and stuff, and there's online systems and place. Figure it out, Nintendo. Figure it out. Yeah. Even if they did a Pokemon expansion, a Pokemon specific expansion to Switch Online for another couple of quid. Because if it was like an extra $5 a year and you got all the old Pokemon games on my Switch, I would pay that. Straight buy.
I feel like it would almost be its own thing.
Yeah, that's why I say like
subscription. Yeah,
how you got the base subscription, then you got the expansion that gives you Game Boy Advance, Sega Mega Drive, and Nintendo 64.
Yeah,
another expansion, but this is a Pokemon expansion, so it's an extra, say £5 a year or whatever they're going to charge, £10 a year, and here's all the old Pokemon games that are currently locked on all platforms.
Yeah, why not? Last one. 8th of July.
8th of July.
Back to our Battlefield points. Battlefield 1943. So there's another one for our chronological timeline. I just thought it was interesting because it was another year that we could add to our list. 1943.
Let us know in the comments. Let's see if we can get this list going. But I am going to say sports games are not allowed. So you can't use 9 Innings Pro Baseball 2011.
No. But
But that is all we have time for you this week. Thank you very much for watching. If you've liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you keep knowing all of the fantastic content here. And if you want to join the conversation even further, we have a Discord server. The link is in the description below. And you know what? Maybe buy yourself a t-shirt over at our store. Is any sales? I was going to ask you, is any sales coming?
Some point, yeah. I'm not 100% when, but I feel like there was one at the beginning of July sometime. 5th to the 10th. So now, this week, there's 20% off everything.
Yeah, so stop what you're doing.
If you're going to buy something, now is the time.
Stop what you're doing, put whatever you're holding down, unless it's your phone. Hit the link in the description, go to the store, buy yourself a bandana for your dog.
Yeah, you've got till Wednesday.
You have. And then tell us about them in the Discord. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Richie.
I've been Chris.
GG everyone. Goodbye.